So I'm back with another book talk video. So this is my second video ever doing this. So if you've not seen my first one, and that was from January, I will link that in a card above. So in 2023, I decided to start reading, and I did a video during Vlogmas over basically my 2023 book review. So I shared my favorites and what I look forward to reading and all of that, and you guys really liked it. So I decided to do some of that in 2024. So every month or every couple of months we'll do this depending on how many books I read. So this was an amazing reading month for me. I read 6 books, all of them 5 stars, but one, and that one book is a 6-star read. And it got me thinking, because all of the books that I've given 5 stars in the past, would I still give those 5 stars now based on these 5-star reads? So that's going to be kind of something I might do in the future, maybe a would I still rate these books 5-star video. So that might be coming later this year, because as you read more books, you know, and you might say this book is a 5-star, but the other one that I rated a 5-star wasn't so much once I read this one. So that is something I've kind of thought about doing for future videos or on down the road in 2024. Enough with my rambling. You're here to look at the books. I'm going to go in order of what I read and the order I read them in. So the first series, saying series because I rated these as a group, is the Hopeless series by Colleen Hoover. So this has 5 books to it, and if you have the Colleen Hoover graphic, these 3 go together, and then you can read the other ones separate or with this set. So by the time I read these 3, I was ready to kind of step to the side and read something else. I will go back and read those later on. I just kind of needed a break from the story because I spent about probably 2 weeks on these 3 books. So the other 2 books go along with this. They're like side stories from this one. So I thought I can take a break and then come back to them. So Finding Cinderella is basically an extension of the first 2. This is basically the same story. One of them, Hopeless, this is the first book, is told in Sky's perspective or point of view. And then this one is told through Dean or Holder. He goes by Dean and Holder. It makes sense once the story goes on. So I zoomed through these books. I had to know how they ended. So this book here, it starts with Sky going to the grocery store, and she runs into this guy that's really kind of dark but intriguing to her, and then he asks her this random question in the parking lot of the grocery store, and it has her kind of like really confused on what he's even talking about. This is really weird. Why is he asking me this personal question? He's never seen me before, and so forth. But she goes about her business, and then all of a sudden she runs into him running. So evidently they lived like 2 blocks away from each other, and she's going out for a run, runs into him, and this whole story unfolds around these 2 characters. I could not put this down. I loved it. I loved all of the characters, loved the story. And here's the thing. I read this book, this is Sky's perspective, and I thought, you know what? I don't even know if I want to read the second one, Losing Hope. I don't really know if I care to hear Dean's perspective on the story. Man, was I wrong. This one, I want to say, had me a little bit teary-eyed several times in the book because he puts so much guilt on himself, and it's just such a sweet story. And you know, the people that give Colleen Hoover, you know, I've heard these stories of if you like Colleen Hoover, then you're not a true reader. I don't understand that. Can anybody explain that to me? Because I have loved every book that she has done, but without merit. She is the reason I got back into reading so much, and her stories are quick reads to me. I will talk more about this in March because I have finished one book in March, and this, what I'm about to say, is going to get talked about even more in March. I am a person that has dealt with struggles in reading comprehension. Y'all, when I was in high school, I'm gonna tell you, my husband and I had this discussion yesterday, and I asked him, why are these classic books, the ones that we read in high school, like Animal Farm and Lord of the Flies, and I did not understand those stories at all. When it comes to really detailed and I'm supposed to get symbolism in a book, I can't do it. So to me, I love these books because they're easy to follow, they're easy to read. There's enough description in it that I'm not going to get lost in the description and not the story. So if it's too detailed, I'm going to get lost and then forget what the story is about. That's just how I work. That's just how my brain works. So that is why I love Colleen Hoover. Now, the third book, and I can't really say a whole lot about this, and I will tell you, my husband got me this box set for Christmas, and I thought, Finding Cinderella, that is really odd. Like, you know, you've got Hopeless is the name of this one. This one's Losing Hope. And then a Finding Cinderella. How in the world can that go with this book? But it makes complete sense. And just keep Finding Cinderella in your head while you're reading this, because they'll mention it and you'll be like, ah, it's a light bulb moment. And you're like, that's what that third book is about. So these together, 5-star reads, very quick reads. I loved them. I can't say anything else. I really like them. So let me explain to you how my rating goes. I have got two extremes. And it's really funny, but I have learned in the book talk world and the bookstagram world and the booktube world that I'm not the only one. So I like to read a romance book and then a murder thriller. So I usually go back and forth between the two. And the next one is the first psychological thriller that I gave 5 stars. So all of the other ones that I've read up to this point have not gotten 5 stars, but this one did. This was a roller coaster ride for me. From the very first page to the very last page, it has got twists and it's got turns, and you think the story's over and then something else happens and you're like, oh my gosh, this is exhausting. I'm trying to keep up with all of this. But this story, you think it gets deep and then it gets deeper and then it gets deeper and then it gets deeper. I mean, it was amazing. I loved it. This is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I mean, look at the cover. The cover looks 3D in person, and I will be honest, that is really the reason I wanted to read the book, because of the cover. And then I read the back and I'm like, oh, I've got to read that. And excuse that if you hear that, that's Derek playing on PlayStation. Sorry about that. It seems like he's always doing that when I'm filming. So this is a story, and I got my notes over here because y'all know I get kind of sidetracked and lost. I'm just gonna read it because it's easier for me to just read it off the notes. Okay, this is the story centers around the Hope family whose murders shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. So we're going like a back and forth type of timeline. While most people assume 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it. Other than her denial after the killings, she has never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she stepped foot outside of Hope's End. So this is Hope's End here. After these murders, after some of her family members were murdered, she never left this place here. The cliffside mansion where the massacre occurred. So as you see, there is the huge cliff on the cover. It's now 1983. And the home health aide Kit arrives at a decaying Hope's End to care for Lenora after her previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. So nobody knows why this lady left. Everybody seemed to like her. She liked the facility, but all of a sudden she left. She leaves all of her things there, and they have no idea what happened to her. So at this point in 1983, Lenora is now in her 70s, and she is wheelchair bound. And like parts of her body do not work anymore. She was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with Kit by tapping out sentences on a typewriter that's in her room. One night, Lenora uses it to make a tantalizing offer. I want to tell you everything. And so the story goes from there. So I can't tell you anything besides it is a roller coaster ride. Hold on to your seat for the entire story. 5-star read. Loved it. Read it. Let me know what you think. So my last two reads are two books that kind of go together, they go together like they're the same group of people, but they both got their separate book. It'll make sense once you read it. So I have seen all over Book Talk, basically all over the internet, about Abby Jimenez. I hope that's how you pronounce her name. And I thought, I've got to read something by her. Well, for February's Book of the Month box, and I'll talk about that in a minute, I got 2 of her books. And Book of the Month, I've been with them since October, if I can talk. I will leave my referral link in the description. You don't have to use it to sign up. If you do, I think I might get a free book. I'm not really sure. But the way it works is you pay, I think it's $12.99 after you sign up. But the first month, I think, is $9.99. And you get 1 book, hardcover book, for $12.99. And if you know anything about hardcover books, that is a great price. And then I've been with the service for so many months that now I get up to 4 add-ons for $12.99 as well. So I'm gonna tell you, the last 2 months I've got 5 books, because hardcover books, and let me tell you, I've compared the prices from Target and Amazon and Walmart and all of that, and these are great books. And I've noticed on the inside sleeve it'll tell you when the book was added as part of Book of the Month. So I've really enjoyed the service so far, and if I didn't, I would tell you I didn't enjoy it. So I can't wait to get my March box in. I ordered it Friday and share all those books with you. So back to what I was talking about. So the first book that is part of the series, and the first one I read was Part of Your World. I love this. Well, I loved every single book this month. So I'm going to read from my little sheet here so I don't miss anything. The story begins with Alexis. She is a very wealthy surgeon. She comes from a line of surgeons. And she has a flat tire in the middle of nowhere. She's in a ditch and she tries to call a tow truck, and then all of a sudden this guy shows up to help her with the tire, and she's like, no, I'm good, I can wait. And he goes, oh, well, I know so-and-so, and he's at the bar, and it's going to take him a long time to get to you, so let me help you. So this guy helps her, and his name is Daniel. I'm making sure I got the names right. Yes, I got the name right. I'm not good with book characters' names, and sometimes I kind of forget them, so that's why I've made notes so I don't. So the story starts with her in a ditch. He pulls her out of the ditch. So after this happens, she's on her way home and she decides to stop at this bar. Well, she's stopping at the bar to have a drink, and then Daniel comes in, and the story starts from there. And it's called Part of Your World because you've got 2 individuals, total opposites. One comes from a really small town, everybody knows everybody, and the other one is in a big city. She works in a hospital. She's mega wealthy. The other one is not mega wealthy. So, and they come together, and this is about their story. And let me tell you, I smiled and I loved this story so much. So definitely read this. It is one of those feel-good stories. I loved it. So this one was 5 stars. All the other ones are 5 stars. So that means the last one is the 6-star read. And let me tell you, I was so excited because Book of the Month last week shared their Book of the Year. And this was the 2023 Book of the Year. And it is yours truly. Just read the book. So this book deals with anxiety. So one of the main characters suffers highly from anxiety, and the way that she takes this character flaw it's normally seen in people as a character flaw, and wraps it into this whole story and turns it into a positive, just touched my heart. As somebody that struggles with anxiety myself, I throughout the whole book was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's me. Oh my gosh, yes, that's me. So Dr. Jacob Maddox is the one that suffers with anxiety. And then you have another doctor that is a main character. Brianna, I guess is how they pronounce it. I never know if it's Brianna or Brianna. So the story starts with Brianna or Brianna is up for chief surgeon, I think, hold on, chief of surgery. And Everybody thinks she is a shoo-in. She's going to be the one that gets it. She's going to have all the votes. And then her boss brings in Dr. Jacob Maddox. And she thinks that her boss has brought him in, which is the chief of surgery right now. He is supposed to retire, and then somebody else is supposed to replace him. So she feels like that he has brought in Dr. Jacob to replace her. Like, oh my gosh, he has brought in this new guy because he doesn't want to give the position to me. This is unfair. So she immediately doesn't like Jacob because of this. She has never spoken to him before, knows nothing about it, doesn't even know if that's the story, but she has got this story in her head. So it's basically an enemy to lovers type of story. And let me tell you, I loved every single character in this book. Their parents, I just, like his mom is a sex therapist. I think that's what they call her, is a sex therapist. So the way that her role is woven into this story as well has you smiling, and it's just such a wonderful story. I just cannot love this book enough. So definitely read this. It's a 6-star read. I would love to read this book again because it just had me in all of my feels. So in the comments below, I would love for you to share with me some books that you have read this year that you have truly loved, because I'm telling you, when you guys make a suggestion, I'm going immediately to my Amazon cart and adding it to my wish list. I can't tell you how many books I have on my wish list. I can't tell you how many TBR books I have over here. And I now understand what people say when they say that buying books and reading books are two different hobbies. So I did want to mention that. So last order of business is I want to share my TBRs for March. So, and I realized that I'm missing several. So I thought my book of the month box would be here. So I guess I'm just going to pop in some pictures over here if I don't have them. So let me start by the ones that I don't have. And, well, there's 2 from book of the month and 1 that should be here today that I'm going to start next. So let's start with the book that I'm going to get today that should be here any moment. And I was hoping would be here before I film this. And that is The Teacher by Frida McFadden. So this is her newest release that came out in the last couple of weeks. I have seen mixed reviews about it, but I love to read a Frida McFadden book because it usually is a page turner, even if the end doesn't end the way that you want it to, and they're usually pretty fast reads. So that is going to be the first thing that I read as soon as it gets here today. It is from Amazon. Then let's talk about the other 2 that I don't have, and that is The First Lie Wins. So that is in my March book of the month box, and I think that was one of the books from last month for book of the month, and I didn't get it last month. I thought I'm gonna get another one and then I'll get it the next month, and I've seen a lot of people that love it, and I saw one person on TikTok that didn't like it at all. So I'm interested to read it and share my thoughts. Okay, the third one is I started doing an audiobook. I've done 1 audiobook so far, and I will share that in March because I just finished that. But somebody on TikTok, or several people on TikTok, were talking about audiobooks. And one of the TikToks was, what is an audiobook that you would recommend? Every single comment was The Butcher and Blackbird. I'd never even heard of this book before, but I immediately started searching for it because I thought, if every single person in this comment section is telling us to do audiobook for Butcher and Blackbird, I think I need to do it. So that is going to be a book that I'm hoping to get to in March. I don't know if I'm going to read it or do audiobook or do like both together, but we will see. I'm excited about that one. And then the other ones I have. So next I've got another Colleen Hoover series, and it's the Slammed series. So it's 3 books here. So I think it starts with Slammed, and I want to say, after doing a little bit of reading, this was her first series, and I don't know how I know that, but I read it somewhere. So you got Slammed, and then I think it's Point of Retreat, and then it's This Girl. So I would like to get those read. And then last but not least, the Catherine Center book that everybody says is their favorite, How to Walk Away. So I've seen anybody that loves, if I can get it out, anybody that loves Catherine Center has said this is their all-time favorite book by her. So I've read The Bodyguard. I have Hello Stranger. I haven't read that one yet, but I thought everybody tells me this is the best one, so I want to read that. So those are my TBR books for March. We've got First Law Wins, Butcher and Blackbird, How to Walk Away, the Slam series, and The Teacher. So you guys, that is it for my February book talk video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you like this type of content. I have really gotten into reading, and I'm loving sharing what I'm reading with you guys, or what I've read, what I recommend, and I'm loving the book talk or bookstagram, whatever you call it. I'm loving the book community. So definitely in the comments below, share what you have read and what you recommend. So you guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you give it a big thumbs up. By giving my videos a thumbs up, it shows YouTube you're engaged and you like my content, which means they'll start suggesting it and recommending it to more people, which means our community will grow and will continue to spread positivity. And I have been noticing a lot of that lately. Now, it has kind of dropped off in the last week or two with people viewing and all of that, but I think that's just how the YouTube algorithm goes. There's sometimes no rhyme or reason to it. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you for giving the videos a thumbs up. So next week, I'm hoping to share a TBR cart. I'm going to use one of my IKEA carts and turn it into a TBR cart. So I'm going to hopefully share that next week. So I hope you'll have a blessed week, and until next time, bye you guys.